Darren, you're an Arsenal fan. Club legends being involved, like the Invincibles, like the three that we spoke about earlier on. Is that the way forward, do you think?
Potentially, but I think the Arsenal, I mean, listen, it sounds unbelievable. We talk about three of the absolute greats getting involved and taking over the football club. But whoever comes in, regardless of whether it's them, they've just got to care about the club. And I think if there's investment in the club, I think that's what the fans want, like a relationship. Like, obviously, there seems to be no relationship whatsoever between Kroenke and the supporters, and that kind of riles them. You look at someone down the road, Roman Abramovich, for instance. Now, yeah, the Chelsea fans are really disappointed and hurt by him, obviously, potentially taking Chelsea to the Super League. But if you look at the investment that he's put in that club, and he is there every single game, I know he's not been there for a while, but when he obviously is allowed in the stadiums and he's watching the games, he's as passionate as anyone. He's cheering, he's kicking every ball. So obviously he's watching his investment in the team, the money that he's put into the club, obviously pay off because they've won everything. And I think if you see a bit of passion from your owner, I think the fans will go, you know what, I quite like that. But obviously there's got to be a bit of investment. But I think there's been no relationship with Kroenke whatsoever, and I think that's what hurts Arsenal fans a lot as well.
I remember when Josh Kroenke came out and said, just wait and see, essentially. He was like, it's going to be an exciting summer. This was the season before last. And then they signed Pepe. And I think that was the kind of what they thought was going to be exciting, and it didn't excite Arsenal fans. So there is investment at Arsenal. It's just whether or not it's the right investment.
So then the problem's recruitment then.
Right,
But you know what?
The problem has always been recruitment.
I think if Pepe had come for 30 to 40 million, you'd go, that's not bad that sign actually for that kind of money. But the fact he went for 70 million plus, that's the problem.
Willian as well on big wages. We know that David Luiz is on big wages too. So really, I think you're right. I think one of the biggest problems is actually the recruitment and who comes in, because there have been a number of big mistakes of players that have come in, spent 3 seasons at Arsenal and been shipped out as quick as possible and haven't done anything to progress the club whatsoever. So if new owners come in, is the recruitment still going to be the same, or how do you sort that out?
Well, there is either way. For Arsenal to get back to where they want to be in terms of challenging for the Premier League titles and stuff, there has to be real investment. I'm talking about it might, for a couple of windows, put in more money than you really want to, but you've got to be seen as having a go. Do you know what I mean? Because at the minute you can't hide the fact they're absolutely getting left behind by a number of teams. And even when you look at the team on paper, it is a mid-table team. Yeah, there's a couple of very, very good players and some really, really exciting youngsters, but they're a mid-table side. So for me, there's got to be a lot of investment in that club and structure. But I said the first and foremost, the relationship between the owner and the fans is crucial.
Mm-hmm. Ali, what essentially the arguments come back to with anything like this is how much money clubs are spending. Yeah. And the argument that was being thrown out everywhere while the European Super League was being in discussion was that it's all about money. Does it seem kind of ironic that the way to solve a problem is to throw more money at it when money might be the cause of the issue in the first place?
100%. I mean, the irony isn't lost in us, because you look at it's how you don't need to. I'm saying you don't need to spend millions and millions of pounds. For example, just look at a club like Leicester, where the recruitment, I've got to say, the recruitment's been phenomenal.
Yeah, and the sale,
absolutely phenomenal has the recruitment been there. So you have to have a balance. You know, you can't just keep going and spending hundreds of millions and expecting that to take you, to the top in Champions League football and this, that, and the next thing. Arsenal are 10th, guys. Do you know what I mean? And against a Leicester side that we've just mentioned, where their recruitment has been nothing short of fantastic. So it's not effectively, listen, Leicester have spent a few quid, but you'd have to say at this point, it looks as though they've spent it a lot more wisely than the vast majority of teams in the league.
But that's what I'd say there, Ali, as well, is that I've not got a problem with them spending hundreds of millions, as you said there, but it's who they invest in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's no point in spending all this money if you're not going to bring in players that are going to make a difference.
Don't you think as well it's about how you sell players? So if you look at what Leicester have done recently, Maguire went for 80 million, Chilwell went for 45 million. Those players haven't been missed. They are third at the moment in the Premier League. They have recruited so well and they've brought players through that you can let players like that go, who at one point were seen as some of your best players, get a lot of money for them, and then put it into a new training ground, basically. When you look at what Arsenal have done, Ramsey went on a free. One of the best players for that period of time at Arsenal. Their business in terms of letting players run down the contract is creating problems of their own doing Darren.
When you look at Leicester as well, I mean, how much did they buy Mahrez for? And Kanté?
Wasn't Mahrez at like $1 million or something ridiculous?
I think they were both really cheap, and they sold them for a lot of money. So that their investment, but then it comes down to recruitment. Because as I said, I don't mind Arsenal spending loads of money, but the recruitment side has got to be better than it has been. You've got to. I know. Listen, it's easier said than done.
But Maddison, guys like that,
Exactly.
It's amazing. It's amazing what they've done. It really, really is. And you can argue the management and the business side of things at Arsenal's been appalling. You like guys like Ramsey and Mesut Ozil and all that kind of thing. You could sit and talk about that, and it would take up a show itself. But it's so important to get it right. And Darren's right. You know, you can spend millions of pounds, but you have to get it right. It's kind of obvious thing to say, but you have to get the good quality people in to build your team and your squad.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods. Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.